So, John Robert McCrea, welcome.
Appreciate it.
So, John, of course, welcome to America Land. It is great to have you.
I love America Land.
And from what I understand, this is your first con at the East Coast of America.
Yeah, first ever East Coast con. Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are freaking
Right, I saw this page and oh my God, that's awesome. So I know you've done C2E2, San Diego Comicon, especially when there was like an Eisner win involved with that one.
Yeah, that was Garth actually. He really won that.
Your name's on the book, John, man. That's and I wanted to crack some jokes, and I'm going to apologize in advance to you, man. I don't know that many Eisner recipients that can say they also put an orgy into a comic book and still have an Eisner at the end of the day.
Sure. Again, that's Garth really to blame for that. I mean, I did draw it. You know,
Hell of a list of accomplishments, Josh. Outstanding.
Sure.
So with the Spirit of Heroes initiative, what we ran around the con today and found some books, some donations. So we've got a bunch of Hitman trades. If you haven't finished your collection, we've got volume.
If you want doubles.
If you want doubles, we've got 1, 3, 6, and 7. We've got the Hellboy Heroes Initiative 100 project. John did a cover inside of that. A couple standalone issues. We've got the two-parter Zombie Night at Gotham Aquarium up here. The whole goal, a $5 ticket. We'll put you in the raffle. Allison's got all the stuff right there. And it's solely to raise money for the Heroes Initiative, to thank him for having John out here. I've been coming to this con for 9, 10 years. And great opportunity to have you. Want to get back to the Heroes Initiative however we can. So if you could, please, that would be awesome for you to donate. So for an artist highlight for you, man, I know you were 2 years ahead of Garth in high school.
Yes, absolutely. He was in my brother's year, my youngest brother's year. He was at school. And I knew about him because he read comics, and he knew about me because I read comics and drew comics. So we kind of vaguely knew about each other. But later on, after I left school, I was sort of pissing about drawing comics, and I decided to open a comic shop in Belfast. And my mate Fred and I, we used to buy all our punk records from a guy called Terry Cooley, who was the punk guru of Northern Ireland. Terry discovered Stiff Little Fingers and signed them up, gave them their first record label, first record deal, SLF and Crass and a few other, no, not Crass, what am I talking about? They're American. No, not Sex Pistols. We didn't discover them. That was another fellow, Terry. But Terry was quite a character. He had an eye shot out during the troubles of Northern Ireland, and he ran the comic shop, and we would go in there buy our punk records up. And after a while, we were talking about opening a shop somewhere in Belfast, probably in the markets. And he was like, "Now you can have my back room. Just clear it out, pull the crap out of it. You can set up a comic shop in there." And so we opened Dark Horizons, which was Belfast's first or Northern Ireland's first comic shop. And one of our customers was Garth Ennis. He used to come in and buy. He used to buy Cerebus and Concrete. Those were two Garth's two comics he bought. And that's nice. Yeah, and Garth, of course, knew me and I knew him. And I had started getting a little bit of work with, I'd done a Future Shop for 2000 AD, and I'd done some G.I. Joe, but in the UK, G.I. Joe was called Action Force. For some reason. I have no idea. But and I got to draw. Yeah, real European. That's it, exactly. Yeah. But I got to draw Snake Eyes and the guy in black. What's his name? The ninja, the good guy ninja who's what's his name? Snake Eyes. Oh well, that's what's his I got to do both those guys, which was cool. And so Garth came in, and everybody who came into the shop who knew that I drew and was sort of breaking into comics always had an idea for a story. So I had heard people say, "I've got an idea for a story," and I was just like, "Yeah." Garth came and said, "Got this idea for a story," and I'm just like, "Yeah, right, okay, here we go." And he pitched this. He said, "I've got this idea for a story about the troubles in Northern Ireland." At that time, 2000 AD, was publishing a sister comic called Crisis, which in itself, it started out doing very well, and it was all about third world debt, sort of environmental issues and all this sort of business. And The problem was it was a bit heavy-handed. It was really, you know, when you're doing a story, you write a good story first, and if you've got ideas or points to put across, you do those second. Those are the secondary things, the story's the driving force, and they kind of work the other way around with Crisis. So sales weren't doing so well, and Garth pitched it, and the next thing we knew, we were both being flown over to London, and Dane said, can you do this? It's a 96-page book, fully painted, and I had never painted in my life. I had never lifted a paintbrush to do anything, because from when I was 4 years old, all I wanted to do was draw American comics, draw Spider-Man and Batman. That's all I'd ever wanted to do. And none of them were painted. But of course in the UK at that time, and I think in the States perhaps, they had this, the fully painted thing was starting in comics. You had guys like Simon Bisley, and over here, Kent Williams, and John J. Ruth, all doing this, and Cat Singervich, of course, doing all this amazing painted stuff, so it kind of filtered through. So they said to me, can you paint 96 pages of colored artwork? And I just looked them straight in the eye and went, and lied completely. Of course I can. Of course I can. Exactly. So it's just like, just lie and then go home and worry about it later. So I basically learned to paint in front of thousands of people, which was terrifying and demoralizing and such like. But most people seem to buy it, so that's okay. Not actually particularly pay for it, but I certainly thought that I had some semblance of talent in it. So that came out and that did really well. It got a lot of attention. And then from there on, Garth and I have just been sort of working together fairly regularly.
Did they print all 96 pages at once, or was it?
No, it was serialized in Crisis in about, I think it was, probably 12 pages per issue, I think.
Sure.
Probably issue 96.
So we had that, and then get picked up by DC for.
Well, not immediately. Garth and I worked away. I think Garth skipped over to the States first. We both did follow-up story to Troubled Souls for A Few Troubles More. Yeah, featuring a couple of the backup characters, Doogie and Ivor, who were just these Belfast losers, and then we became private detectives. If any of you have read it, it started out as a sort of parody of it because we wanted to show that most stories set in Northern Ireland are about the troubles in Northern Ireland, and so everybody who looks into Northern Ireland thinks or at that time certainly, thought that that's all that ever happened in Northern Ireland. Everybody was blowing each other up and shooting. When I got married, the people refused to come over to Northern Ireland for the wedding because they were afraid they were going to get blown up and shot. And it's just like, oh, for Christ's sake. I lived there for 25 years, and I never once got blown up. So, we used to play a game actually in Northern Ireland where it was like, how close did you come to being blown up? I think my record, the closest I ever got was about a minute and a half away from being blown up. I walked out of the shop and a minute and a half later it blew up. So, I guess that's close. But Garth beat me, of course.
You within 2 minutes of an explosion?
Sure, well, that's about that. At the time. No, it's
You wouldn't be embarrassed of being earshot of a gunshot in DC. So.
It's not a competition.
It's not nothing to worry about there. You're still manly.
When were you picked up for the Demons?
Well,
he
nipped over and started working doing albums.
Okay.
That was his first book. I can't remember. But I still did a few bits and bobs. I think I did Midden Fist Penelope, which was and Shopper with Garth, and Midden Fist Penelope. And then I think at that point, and my
Marvel UK?
Midden Fist Penelope, that was 2008 as well.
Oh,
so don't have to worry about it. And and then I was picked up, and we went over and did the deal, which was fun.
The big thing that stood out to me with your run in Demon, after getting Demon, I loved how there was no two backgrounds in Hell that looked the exact same.
Well, no, it's a constantly shifting. You would imagine, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
disorientating and sort of fucked up and everything. So
what inspired your take on Hell? I mean, when you sit down and do something, are you listening to something? Are you watching something? Is there anything that really stood out?
I don't know, no, really. I tell you, I'm the laziest guy. And having to draw, and being able to draw hell and not having to draw two backgrounds that resemble each other is perfect. Because there's no effort involved there. Make it up as I go along. It doesn't matter if this one matches that one. Perfect. Happy days. Especially when you then go on to 60 issues, all set in one bar. Which has got to look the same for Asia.
That always brings me to, so we were talking about Mythic, and I love your monster and demon character design, Beethoven. All those weird, crazy things. It seems like you're just having fun with that. It's just free form for you?
Sure. Well, Garth often would sort of, with the demons like Beethoven, I think I'm not even sure if Garth actually designed them, just sort of drew one of his terrible pictures and sort of like the teeth and the tube and everything, or if I designed them, I can't remember now. I mean, I know that with Bueno X, that's all Garth. And I'm happy to say that's all Garth. He actually, Bueno was based on a guy we knew. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do we want to tell that story?
Well, the full story of it is that when Section 8 was being created, we were a terrible supergroup that Bueno was part of. And does everybody here know who Bueno and Section 8 are and everything like that? Yeah, everybody knows.
You want to wash my hands after I clap when I clap?
But we were struggling to come up with the 8th member of the group, and my brother, always comes back to my brother strangely, he had just been on a junket over to Amsterdam with the company he worked for, and one evening after a night on the town with them, he went back to his hotel room and he thought, I'll just flick on some porn, have a quick wank, and then nod off to sleep. And he slaps on this porn, and there's this terrible Spanish porn going on, and the guy is fucking the girl, and he's going, bueno, excellent. And God just looked at me and went, that's our man. That's the 8th member we've been looking for. I apologize. So that's how Bueno came to be.
Thank you. Over here, over here.
Weddings and bar mitzvahs first.
So I do need to ask, what inspired this?
Why
Why did we go this far?
I'm going to blame Garth again for that. He did ask for a jumpy neck scarf. Tommy was based originally on the character from Miller's Crossing, Gabriel Byrne's character in Miller's Crossing, the movie both of us loved to pieces, and so an influenced Hitman mightily. And originally when I drew Tommy, I sort of gave him Gabriel Byrne's nose a little and such like. But as he sort of morphed, as I drew more and more, he just turned into me, as always, with a wider neck, you know. And but I think within, yeah, I love it. So when you I think Gabriel Byrne sported a neck scarf at some point in that movie, and it was the late 80s, early 90s fashion. Who knew? Have you seen Garth's shirts?
Garth
had so fashion, possibly not
his shirt.
Garth's possibly not the most fashionable person, and I can say that as a friend. So anyway, yeah, he thought it was a good idea to have the neck scarf, and then by the time Hitman 1 came out, he rang me up and just went, John, before you start drawing, can we lose that? So it's not right. It's not right. So, and I was quite happy to get rid of that.
It was a good call. And then any historic value behind the H's?
The H's?
A stylish H.
I know. I mean, come on.
Stylish.
There's no way in hell he would actually have two big fucking H's. It just, I drew him, and then there was nothing. It was just a coat and some guns, and I was like, what can I do? So I kind of just stuck these little things on, and then put the H with the sort of half the little hole on each side. Thank you. And I was like, how can I give him something to make him a little bit more visually interesting than just a guy in a coat with a glass? So yeah, there's no more reasoning behind it than that.
What's the reasoning behind the hat?
There's a story in that. Basically, Nat the Hat, of course, appears around about issue 4 or 5, and it's issue 4 or 3, Garth sets it up, where at the end of that arc, Tommy's best friend is going to die, but he doesn't specify who his best friend is, and of course he doesn't say it's not Pat. Now, so when I started drawing the story, Pat was Tommy's best friend, as far as I could see, and so I thought that Pat was. No, hold on, I fucked that up. Yeah, sorry. So I figured that Pat was going to survive, and Nat, when he showed up, was going to die. So I thought, well, he's Nat the Hat, so he's got a hat. So I'll draw the most complicated hat in existence. Because I'm going to have to draw 3 issues, and then he's going to get killed. And then I won't have to draw the hat anymore. 60 issues later, I'm going out of my mind, drawing this frigging hat. All those little buttons and things, and then it chopped off the top of it in the Gotham Knight. Yeah, exactly. So it gets more and more tackled as it goes along.
I want to caveat with that because we're 18 minutes in and we haven't done a raffle. So we've got the 2-parter signed from, or brought in from the Heroes Initiative. Again, issues 13 and 14. I think it's 2 down. Alice and Darling, if you could bring the magical box of bookers up there, and we'll have John.
Zombie Night to Gotham wearing. If I had drawn this cover on every issue of Hitman, I would have sold more. That cover was the most popular cover. Something about 3 massive thugs with artillery going to kill a small baby city in the field. Am I just up at you as well?
Those are baby cities.
Okay, let's see what we got. Joe Connection. There you go.
If there's anyone who hasn't bought a raffle ticket yet, and you want one, come and get them from me.
You got it. How to feel unwanted.
I don't want to kill the initiative, especially when we're talking about it. So, yeah, Club and Baby Seals. Yeah, so when zombie baby seals.
And that's what makes it okay.
Exactly.
They've come back to life.
Exactly. Yeah.
When
it needs to be done.
You had when did Pete Tomasi take over editing the book?
Fairly early on. I remember Dan Raspler was our editor on The Demon, and then he came on to Hitman. But Dan got promoted, so he took over. He was his assistant, and he got promoted, so he was our editor for the rest of the book. And Pete was great. He's a great editor. He's a great writer, actually. But he always had a problem with the crazy stuff that went on in Hitman. He couldn't handle it. He was constantly going, "No, you can't have a tall, a mouthy fucking shouting Iron Bait or serving behind the bar in this comic that's meant to be relatively serious about Hitman and about, you can't do that. Don't do it, Garth. Don't do it." Garth like, "Fuck you." So it was. So there was a constant struggle there with Pete constantly losing. But yeah, Pete was great. He kept me in the straight and narrow. I was quite the alcoholic at the time, so it was good to Pete to sort of kick my ass and just keep going.
Absolutely.
Now let's go drink.
You mentioned yesterday how Nightwing had been written into a story, and then it was editorial. Was there a lot of back and forth with the Bat Office with this crazy ass book of yours?
Oh, yeah, just a touch. The Bat Office didn't really like us very much at all. Like the notorious first issue where Tommy threw up on Batman. It was all drawn, and originally you had Batman standing there, covered with carrots, diced carrots all sticking out of his costume. Exactly. And they went through to the Bat Office. They were just like, "No, you can't do this to Batman. He's a figure of respect. He wears his underpants outside his costume. You cannot do that to a man like this. So, would you mind making it off shop?" So I had to redraw the panel with it looking down with my boots, which is fine still, but not as good as it could have been. So yeah, and then the cat signal. Smell, oddly enough. we've later found out that the Bat Office said basically that if they'd gone away and thought about it and realised that they actually would prefer if we hadn't thrown up a Batman at all. And then by the time we got to the end of that arc with
Arkham and Joker.
No, the one, the Mauser, the second Mauser one. What the heck?
Oh, the
Ace of
Killers.
Killers.
Thank you. Yeah, Ace of Killers.
Ace of Killers.
Yeah, by the time we got to the end of Ace of Killers, the Bat Office were just like, no more Bat characters in Hitman. That's it, you're done. And we had a Nightwing story planned, the issue where Nat drowns the guy in a bog. That was originally going to have Nightwing in it as well, and Tommy basically spent this entire time sort of blocking Nightwing from getting into the toilet. And they were just like, no. And we told you, no more.
So it's amazing that you two love taking the piss out of classic superheroes, but one of my favorite superheroes of all time, I don't speak English, watching the show, Superman. And whenever he shows up in your comic book, I always feel like you guys get Superman better than anyone ever gets him. Like you understand him so well.
Well, Garth does. I mean, Garth, that is bizarre. It never ceases to amaze me that Garth's favorite superhero, or the only superhero he has any talent for, is Superman, because he's so goddamn clean cut and such a good guy character. You would think Garth would hate him completely, just like Superman. But Garth loves Superman. And it comes through in every story he writes about Superman. But he does, which is odd. So I guess we never got any grief from the Superman office. That never came to pass because Garth writes about Superman stories.
I would say Tommy speaks to Superman on the booth, and your artwork is gorgeous. You have Superman shrouded in shadows, and he's down. He's just covered by. I don't know what it is. He's just had a fucking bad day. Sure. And Tommy's like, no, man, you can't have a bad day. You're Superman. You do so much good. It really is uplifting.
Yeah.
And as an immigrant to this country, Superman's hearing Tommy explain why Superman is important to America and why he's all of us it's still one of the things I love.
Well, good man. I mean, I believe that issue won an Eisner, which was cool, but I sort of totally think that the Eisner is pretty much all Garth's for that one, because it was the writing on that book that really
Not at all.
I honestly believe that anybody could have written that issue, drawn that issue, and it would probably have won the Eisner anyway. But whatever.
We disagree.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Okay, but when we did the JLA Hitman issue, I hate drawing Superman because of the very reasons that I thought Garth wouldn't like Superman. I hate drawing him because he's so clean cut. I have nothing to hang on to. I tend to draw big bastards best. I don't know why. It's because I'm such a nice, small, innocent little fella. And yeah, there you go. So, but all I ever seem to draw well is just big, ugly bastards. So drawing Superman is really hard, and I thought I failed quite a bit in that Superman story, in that issue 34. And so when we got to do JLA Hitman, one of my things was to get Superman right, and sort of finally draw him the way I should have drawn him. So I worked pretty hard on that issue, on those two issues. Sort of, I can't remember if we dedicated those issues to Archie again, Archie Goodwin, who was the best DC editor ever. In fact, probably the best editor on the planet.
Sure. Did you ever get to work with Archie?
Yes, absolutely. Archie, actually, the thing I did just before I started reading was unfortunately, I worked with Archie on one of the worst comics ever, which was this terrible thing called Streets, which was written by James Hudnall. It wasn't a great comic, really. And it was fully painted, and I hated every minute. There was another fully painted comic.
Full circle.
I know, and just every page of it was like pulling teeth, and I was just like, oh, not fully painted art again.
It's like twice in your first 3 years.
I ended up in probably 500 or 600 pages of fully painted art. I was actually a pretty reasonable painter by the end. I just hated painting still. And I don't really believe that painting has any place in comics particularly. I find that when you paint a panel or a page of artwork, especially panel, it sort of deadens the action. Comics really suits black and white artwork that has emotion. And there's very few painters, like a couple of those guys I mentioned earlier, Senkovich and Muth and probably Ken Williams. But Muth and Ken Williams tend to be up in the north too much. It's too painty, and I'm like, oh, look at me. So I tend to think it's not really comics, it's more sort of art. And I'll have another Rex. But no, I was joking. You don't need to give me any more beer. No, honestly. I think most painted artwork, I don't find it works in comics at all. I much prefer black and white artwork, colored the way old comics used to be. And I didn't get comics to paint them. It drove me insane that I had to lose so much of
So
it.
you're telling me that you didn't do a lot of film training, you just paint, you just drew.
Yeah. Well, I went to art college for 2 months and then dropped out because it was just bollocks. I was like, I can't be bothered with this nonsense. Quite honestly, everybody I knew in art college who went through it at the same time as me came out worse artists than when they went in. I mean, I was in art college in Belfast. It wasn't the most progressive art college in the world. When I showed up to get in, they looked at my portfolio and there's a lot of comic art in there because I was sending samples off to every comic company I could. And they looked at it and just went, "Did you make all this up and draw it out of your head?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they flicked through it and they went, "You won't be doing any of this at our art college." And I was like, "Oh, right, okay. You're really open-minded to sort of folks." But and after 2 months of it, it's just like, this stinks. I can figure it out myself. Thank you very much.
I do want to caveat from that and hold up some of these pages, but since we've got it's been about 10 minutes. Allison, can we bother you, man, like the next 2 tickets, and we'll say,
Drum roll.
Hellboy 100.
let's go with, we'll start out with so it's the Heroes Initiative, the Hellboy 100, John did a page in here.
I got
Where'd you go?
tickets.
Oh, darling, we'll still love you.
Okay, this one is going to Alicia Q. There you go.
Yay! Yeah, so I ran around like an idiot, and did you want that signed by John?
Yeah, it was
Cool.
I couldn't stand on the ride.
I stopped by Billy Tucci's booth. He just did an issue of Gang of Harleys with Jimmy Palmiani and Amanda Connor. And he donated 1 copy of his 1/25 variant. So, Haitian, do you mind holding up the book and we'll draw the next name for it? All right, so this is, during an artist spotlight, I picked art from someone that wasn't the artist, so I apologize for that. But we
Here, I
got this.
have
Nice donation to the Heroes Initiative.
This one works.
The pens, just pull those pens, John.
Oh, thanks.
Performance anxiety, that's it. They're nervous in public. Goodness.
Sure.
Goodness.
There you go. Appreciate it. Oh,